Once upon a time, in a hidden glade deep within the Whispering Woods, there lived a tiny fairy named Twinkie. She was no ordinary fairy. Her wings shimmered like spun sugar, and her laughter sounded like the tinkling of wind chimes. But what made Twinkie truly special was her boundless curiosity and her knack for getting into the most delightful mischief. Twinkie lived in a cozy little mushroom house with a roof made of woven leaves and a door that glowed softly at night. Her best friend was a grumpy but kind-hearted toad named Mr. Puddles, who lived in a nearby pond. Mr. Puddles often scolded Twinkie for her antics, but deep down, he adored her adventurous spirit. One sunny morning, Twinkie woke up with a sparkle in her eye. She had heard rumors of a magical golden flower that bloomed only once every 100 years. Legend had it that the flower granted one wish to whoever found it. Twinkie's heart raced with excitement. She had always dreamed of flying higher than the tallest trees, and this was her chance to make that dream come true. "Mr. Puddles," she called, fluttering over to the pond. "I'm going on an adventure to find the golden flower," Mr. Puddles croaked in disapproval. "Twinkie, you know how dangerous the Whispering Woods can be. There are shadow creatures and thorny vines that could trap you. Stay here where it's safe." But Twinkie was determined. "I'll be careful, I promise. Besides, I have my fairy dust to protect me." She twirled in the air, sending a shower of glittering dust around her. With a sigh, Mr. Puddles relented. "Fine, but take this." He handed her a tiny acorn pendant. "It's a lucky charm. If you're ever in trouble, hold it tight and think of home." Twinkie hugged Mr. Puddles and set off on her journey. She flew through the forest, her wings catching the sunlight as she dodged branches and greeted friendly creatures along the way. She passed a family of chatty squirrels, a wise old owl, and even a mischievous fox who tried to trick her into giving him her fairy dust, but Twinkie was too clever for that. As she ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew cooler, and the trees seemed to whisper secrets. Twinkie followed the faint golden glow that only she could see, her heart pounding with excitement. Finally, she reached a hidden clearing bathed in golden light. There in the center stood the golden flower, its petals glowing like the sun. Twinkie gasped in awe. "It's even more beautiful than I imagined." She reached out to touch it, but just as her fingers brushed the stem, a shadow loomed over her. A dark, thorny vine slithered toward her, its thorns glinting menacingly. "Oh no!" Twinkie cried, fluttering backward. She tried to fly away, but more vines appeared, blocking her path. She clutched the acorn pendant Mr. Puddles had given her and closed her eyes. "Please, take me home," she whispered. In a flash of light, Twinkie found herself back at the pond, safe and sound. Mr. Puddles hopped over, his eyes wide with concern. "Twinkie, are you all right?" Twinkie nodded, though her wings drooped with disappointment. "I almost had it, Mr. Puddles. The golden flower was right there, but the vines, they were too much." Mr. Puddles smiled gently. "Sometimes, the greatest adventures aren't about what we find, but what we learn along the way. You're brave, Twinkie, and that's more valuable than any wish." Twinkie thought about his words and realized he was right. She had faced her fears and discovered her own strength. And though she hadn't found the golden flower, she had something even better. A heart full of courage and a friend who always believed in her. From that day on, Twinkie continued to explore the Whispering Woods, but she no longer sought out grand treasures. Instead, she found joy in the little wonders around her, the dewdrops on spiderwebs, the songs of the birds, and the laughter of her friends. And whenever she felt a little lost, she would hold her acorn pendant and remember that home was always close by. And so, Twinkie lived happily ever after, her spirit as bright as the golden flower she once sought, lighting up the Whispering Woods with her magic and her smile.